welcome back to the Tansson Talks show. I'm Brandon, the host of the show, and I always love doing this. But we're kicking off our second episode of 2025, and I'm very excited to have my guest here today, Crystal. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today, and I'm really excited to get to it.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get to it as well. And first of all, I did want to ask, how was your day going thus far today?
Oh, it's good. We're actually recording over final weeks, so you could, kind of tell how hectic that has been. I've been writing my final before. I'll write my final after this. But other than that, I have big things coming up at the end of the semester, and I'm very excited for the holidays.
I'm so excited, like I said, for you being excited and for us to dive into the conversation. And so, Crystal, if you're able to go ahead and introduce yourself for the watching or listening audience before we get started.
So my name is Crystal, and I'm a current senior at the University of Hawai'i at Mānoa. I'm studying communications and political science. I'm very active with our Public Relations Student Society chapter on campus, where I lead about 30 students through weekly guest speaker meetings, connecting them with professionals, and our career day event, where we're about to tour 4 different businesses all around Honolulu. Is coming up this Friday, so I'm very excited. I love to write, and I'm currently a marketing intern for a local business out here. And that kind of sums up me professionally. And then on my free time, I love to just get outside and do something creative.
I love that. Yeah, and I'm so excited, like I said, to one, officially meet you and for us to dive right in.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and so first of all, I did want to start off, as you mentioned, with leading your PRSSA chapter. And so, how long have you been, the leader of your chapter, and how has it been for you thus far?
So I started with leadership in the fall 2023 semester, where I came into the position of Director of Communications. However, that December, our current president was graduating, so I officially stepped into my presidency that January. So the whole calendar year of 2024, I've had this opportunity to represent my chapter not only on the local but also national level at both the Leadership Assembly and ICON. Those two events are actually events that my chapter hadn't had the opportunity to interact with PRSSA on the national level. So I was really excited that something like a barrier I was able to break for our chapter. Other than that, I've really focused on retention of our members, and our organization is really thriving since the COVID-19 pandemic, which I'm sure enabled a lot of chapters.
Well, I'm glad that one that you were able to help grow your chapter. And how did it feel for you, at the end of fall 2023, going into that January, assuming the role of president? Were you expecting that at all going into it, or did it come to you as a surprise?
I had so many emotions when I found out I had the potential to have this opportunity to lead my chapter in this way. I had a lot of mixed feelings. Of course, I was scared. I was nervous, but I was also really excited. And I knew I had big roles to fill with our initial leadership graduating and going on to bigger, better things. But I was really excited to take on that role, and I'm really proud with the job that me and my leadership board have done.
That's amazing. Like I said, that you were able to assume the role, and even though that I'm sure that you had, like I said, a lot of mixed feelings, as you were mentioning, that you were able to nevertheless take it and, strive with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so since you mentioned that you were able to, of course, represent your chapter, not just, of course, locally, but also at national events such as Leadership Assembly and ICON, which, if those listeners don't know, is the international conference. So how did it feel to sort of break ground in that regard?
It felt amazing. Again, I had been the only member to attend the leadership assembly, so that initial thought of traveling alone and representing my chapter just standing alone was really scary, but I'm really glad it's a barrier that I did break because it did inspire members. The next opportunity we had to travel for ICON, I was able to get 4 members to join me, so I think it very much gave me an opportunity to lead by example, not only show up for a chapter and participate in the delegation of the national e-board or executive board, but also just making sure our chapter is there and hopefully inspiring our members to keep continuing to attend these events.
Well, I love that. Like I said, that you were able to, like I said, break that ground, and I mean, and work to make sure that you're represented at the national level. Because even though, of course, that there may be a physical break in distance between your chapter and some of those in the contiguous U.S., is that you're still nevertheless an equal member of this amazing organization.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. And I love how not only if you're unable to attend physically, National PRSSA has so many online benefits. I was able to write a blog for progressions. So that was really exciting. I actually got to write about my experience about ICON, as well as attending just general sessions they have monthly. It's a really good way to also keep that connection virtually.
I love that. And overall, for you, since you mentioned that, of course, you're the first one to be able to attend these events, and so did when you assumed the role of president, did you know that your chapter hadn't been able to attend these events in the past?
Yes, I did know that. I actually do have to give credit to our past president, Emily Morton. She was the one that brought the Leadership Assembly to my attention and really pushed us to go. So I did have a little help kind of igniting like the spark to go. But I know we hadn't gone to a national conference since 2019. So since the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure this is the same story for a lot of chapters. The pandemic really kind of disabled our chapter, shrunk our chapter a little bit, but we've been able to grow back from that, and I believe even grow back better.
I'm so glad that, like I said, your chapter is able to grow back and in a better place since the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so, yeah, I'm so glad that, like I said, that you're able to work with, like I said, your chapter to be able to make that happen, and then also represent at the national level. And actually, the organization, even though it's PRSSA, is actually an international organization.
Mhm.
And so, how did it feel for you being the attendee, being able to represent the entirety of your chapter on an international stage like that?
It felt like big shoes to fill, but I knew it's something I definitely wanted to do. There was a lot of like anxiety and spark around it, but I knew if I was gonna do it, I had to do it scared. And I'm so glad I took the leap, and it felt good to hear our college be read aloud and just featured in the overall event.
That's amazing. And and when you were able to go back home to your chapter after both the leadership assembly and for Icon, so how was it for you to sort of try to relay the information that you got, the context that you made, since you were the only representative? But I'm sure that your chapter was very proud that you were able to attend and finally give your chapter that representation it so rightfully deserves.
So, coming back from the leadership assembly, I think one thing that really that helped me be able to connect our members to like the experience of the leadership assembly is I was able to work with David Grosven and request his emerging leadership. I believe it's his second edition for our whole entire chapter. So he was able to basically donate those books to us. So I was able to bring books back for our whole entire chapter. I also had a ton of PRSA ethics stickers, so I was able to kind of pass out some goodies while also sharing about the community and the networking amongst students that it perpetrated. With Icon, I did attend with 4 other members, which was super exciting. So when we came back, we actually collectively made a slideshow presentation that we just presented at one of our meetings prior to our guest speaker arriving. But I think being able to share those moments and really make it more interactive with our members at home will inspire maybe our younger members for future years to attend these events and possibly even get a position at the national level.
That's amazing, like I said, that you're able to, I mean, to bring back some, I mean, some of that experience to your chapter, especially with the, with the books. I mean, that's outstanding that y'all were able to work that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, and before I actually head, a little bit into your personal journey outside of just PRSSA, I did want to ask a sort of a two-tier question. So, one, you mentioned that that your chapter has about 30 plus members, and that you have weekly meetings. And so, how's that feel for you being able to regularly engage with your members? And yeah, actually, I'll start off with that.
I think we are really grateful and I'm thankful that we do have the membership base to meet every single week. So we do try to have weekly meetings where we have a different guest speaker from the community come speak with us. We either do workshops just to develop. We did headshots this semester, as well as community service events. So I think of having a variety of events each week really keeps engagement up, and there is a little bit of something for everybody. Even though we are the public relations student society, we really do open our doors to comms, marketing, journalism, communicology, even majors, and we really do try to find something for all of our members' interests. So guarantee joining our chapter, you're gonna find something you like.
I so love that. I mean, I know that for my home chapter, I know that we had so many people from all different sorts of majors, from the strategic communication that deals a lot with public relations to women's studies. I believe we have a electrical engineering major, and I know for me, I was a media studies major, and so I always love that our PRSSA community is so vast with knowledge and experience, and that we're able to work together to for a common mission, even if this isn't our our major or our career path.
And I think that really resembles just the career of PR in general very well. If you look at even the professionals, they have varying backgrounds, and there's so many different paths that can lead you to a career in PR.
Oh, 100%. And I believe you mentioned in your introduction that you have a an event coming up.
So on Friday, which December 13th, so that'll be past by the time this goes up, but we are going to be touring 4 tours. We'll be touring the Ritz-Carlton, Surfco Marketing, Hawaii News Now, as well as the International Marketplace Marketing Manager, which is just a big mall in Waikiki. So I'm very excited to actually get to go into their offices. Normally we have with our guest speakers, they come to us in our classroom, but this is really like the time of the semester where we get to break out, wear our professional attire and really practice how it feels going into an office and interacting in these environments.
That's amazing. And how long did it take for you, for you and your team to coordinate this?
So prep starts like 2 months to 1 month in advance. I definitely think we probably should have even started earlier this semester, as we had a few issues with Thanksgiving and the holidays. So holidays and kind of events that are happening around your projected event are really important to keep in mind. But we had about 2 months to a month and a half to prepare, and we just coordinated with our faculty advisor, sorry, our professional advisor for PRSSA, Amy Hennessy. She is the Hawaii lead for the mid-year group here in Hawaii, and she is such a fruitful source for contact with these professionals.
That's amazing. And is there any particular place out of the 4 locations that you are the most excited for?
I am so excited to tour Servco, especially because our vice president is a current intern there. and her experience has been so fruitful. I love to see her relationship with them. So actually getting to like see like what her workplace looks like and what some of our other members are up to excites me a lot.
That's amazing. And I know for me, I personally always love it whenever, like, personally and professionally, that my world sort of get to meet. That's like, oh, hey, you're the person that so and so works with. I mean, I always
Mhm.
love it when that happens.
Especially on Hawaii, like this island, like that is bound to happen. And there's so many connections that go like all over the place. It's pretty crazy to see when you're like, oh, you know that person, you work with that person.
I mean, that's truly was outstanding. And have you lived in Hawaii all your life?
No, I actually was born in Germany and then I moved to Virginia slash Kansas, then Arizona, and then finally, after I got my associate's degree at a local community college in Arizona, I transferred out here to this university.
Wow, I mean, that's certainly a lot of places, to go across in a relatively short time.
Yes, definitely a lot of movement.
Wow. And so, out of curiosity, like what sparked the movement? Was it like a military family, for instance, or jobs?
So yeah, my dad was in the military and my mother is actually German, so he was moving all around while my mom stayed back in Germany and that kind of led me to have like kind of a dual like international life. It really piques my interest into going to like a career where I can travel like that. So that's like one of the most important things in my young professional life is getting to see the world while I develop myself.
That's amazing. And yeah, that you were able to, I mean, to grow up having sort of that duality there. And, being able to explore all new places. And did you have a favorite place that you lived?
I think Arizona, just because it had been the longest. I have a lot of family and friends over there. However, for the most like interesting, Germany as well. I'm dying to go back there. I'm actually currently also brushing up on my German, so hopefully I can become like B1 level sometime.
That's amazing. And I mean, and since you mentioned that Arizona was the longest, how long did you live there?
So I lived there from about first grade, so maybe 6 years old, until I was 20. I moved to Hawaii right as I turned 20.
Oh, that's amazing. Was that you're able to, uh, at least for that portion of your life, have that stability, at
Yeah.
least for for growing up, before you head to Hawaii, and so for that was that, again with your dad who's in the military, or was that a personal decision for you in college?
No, my dad had actually became a veteran around like 2007, so he hadn't hasn't been in like active duty for a while. I moved out here because my mom actually did a little bit before me, and I just had to act on the opportunity. So I'm currently out here with my mom. I still have family, so I don't get too homesick.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad that you're still able to be a family and in a new environment. And so, how have you been enjoying Hawaii over these past few years?
I have loved it. It is like a very beautiful place. I've enjoyed a lot learning about the culture, kind of the social issues, movements around here. It's definitely a place like no other. It's probably the least American place you can get while still being in America, technically. So it's been a great experience and it's opened my eyes to a lot.
That's amazing. And going into a little bit of, let's say your personal professional journey. So have you always been interested in public relations?
So I actually started college at my local community college in Arizona. I graduated in 2020, so I was completely online for my associate's degree. I got that, and I ended up getting my associate's degree in liberal arts. So, as you can tell, it was really just generic gen ed. I had no idea. But something was telling me to transfer to UH declaring communications. Like, I knew I just wanted to declare communications, and I didn't entirely know too much. I just knew it was versatile and really the foundation of skills you need in a lot of different majors. Through that, I found the career path of public relations as well as our school organization actually at like an RIO fair for my club. That semester I joined, and it really piqued my interest in going into like nonprofit PR, governmental PR, and that's when I decided to add a political science major. So now I'm dual majoring while still being very like heavily PR oriented.
Wow, like I said, that's outstanding. And I'm so glad that, that something drove you to, like I said, to declare in communication. And I want to take a step back as well. And so since you mentioned that you had graduated high school in 2020, so how was that process for you during that time?
So of course I was pretty sad, like the rest of like my fellow 2020 graduates, that high school just kind of ended on a random Tuesday. You just never went back, and graduation was a few months later. I know my school did like a drive-in movie type thing, so you had your assigned slot to go to the school and be like videotaped of you receiving your diploma, and then they spliced it all together and like played it as like a drive-in movie. And it was pretty interesting, but I'm so glad they were able to do something. I think the most adversity I faced with this pandemic was doing community college solely online. I mean, the first year it was required, all classes were online. However, the second year they opened it back up, but I felt like I started it this way. I have to see it through. So I finished it up all online, which in time too. So it's really like taught me a lesson in accountability and holding myself to time management and getting things done. Because there was no one to hold your hand, especially not on online um, community college classes. But I'm really glad I was able to take that step to then be able to transfer to a bigger university where I'm now on track to graduate in May with my bachelor's.
Well, that is so exciting. And first of all, early congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know for myself as a fellow high school 2020 graduate that it was the weirdest experience because on one hand it's like nobody understood, but understood sort of like where we're coming from, but in the same
Mm-hmm.
regard, it's like sort of the world stopped. They're like, "Oh, well, we're so sorry for you." It's just like well, that feels makes us feel worse.
Yeah, it's very I mean, I guess there's not a convenient time for a worldwide pandemic to happen, but it definitely was very one of the worst times.
But nevertheless, I'm glad that you were able to make the most of it, and I like that you said that for your time in community college that even though it was a little bit of a struggle, of course, trying to do everything online, but that even when things opened up, that you had to see it through in the way that you started.
Yeah, that's definitely something that like I feel like my parents raised me on. They're like, you start something, you finish it. So I often find myself being like, I just have to finish. I started it this way. I just have to finish it this way.
That's amazing. And how did it feel for you? Like, hopefully, the community college is able to have a like an in-person, more traditional graduation.
Yes, there actually was an in-person graduation ceremony. It was a little tough though, because I was actually enrolled in like a side campus aside from the main campus. So the main campus was actually 2 hours away. So I had like a 4 hour travel day that day, but it was definitely worth it finally being able to be in an environment like that.
And how was the overall ceremony, considering that you got, not the traditional ceremony for high school, but in the same regard, having done online, like, were you able to meet anybody even during your studies?
I did like make friends like in these online classes. I think it was very like routine when you joined an online class, especially initially at 2020. Everybody's like, drop your Instagrams or and group work, like having that group chats and interactions kind of that way. And I know I have like gotten close to a few of them where we still kind of keep in touch on Instagram. But it's definitely very interesting as they're like not a traditional relationship where we meet up and see each other often. We're very much like more virtual because that's how we met virtually.
Well, that makes sense, and and I'm so glad that you were able to, meet and interact with people during your time in community college. And so, how was it overall for you going from being an online community college student in Arizona to being an in person student in Hawaii, and even with different majors?
I think I was excited more than anything. I was so excited to get back into the classroom just because I knew I was really going to engage a lot more with the materials. Like, of course, in community college, I learned and I got my general education courses. However, I felt like I could have engaged deeper and more meaningfully, and I was kind of missing that factor as convenient online school is and how like flexible it is. It works for a lot of people, but it doesn't work perfectly for some. And this added component of just being there not only gave me motivation, but really helped me be around like-minded individuals to keep me motivated. I really had this, I've gotten over this now, but when I first started in person, I would sit in the library and I would see somebody like working on like chemistry or something, and I'm not even enrolled in a chemistry class, but I'm like, should I be doing that? Like, it really like pushes me a lot more.
I 100%, again, understand that as someone that had done all of my degree, like I said, online. I still occasionally visit a campus, but sometimes I'll see people like, they're studying and working on things. It's like, it's like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing as a college student? Like, like having a big whiteboard and, a study group with friends. But nevertheless, though, I completely understand that. But I like that you were up for the challenge and that you wanted to see everything through.
Mm-hmm.
And overall during your studies, like how long did it take for you to find PRSSA?
So I joined PRSSA in my second semester here. So I got involved pretty quickly. I knew one of the biggest factors joining PRSSA was I knew I was already starting as a third year student and I had to get internships, experience, extracurriculars ASAP. Like I knew I had no time to waste. And I was able to find all of that in one organization with PRSSA. PRSSA has developed me so much professionally. I swear, like I went from just making my LinkedIn to now having like 300 connections through all this big network of PRSSA and the professionals we are able to connect with. So I got involved pretty quickly, and then my second semester actually in the club, I stepped into a leadership position. So it's really something I knew what I wanted, and I had my eyes set on it, and I got it.
I mean, that's outstanding and determination right there. Yeah, and so overall, like you said, I know that you'd already spoken a bit about like I said, your time in leadership, and had you been a part of any organizational leadership beforehand, and had you, and whether at in Hawaii or for community college, did you also work and participate in activities as well?
Yeah, that's one thing about stepping into in-person classes is you have a lot more opportunity to learn about what organizations are on campus and how to get involved. In community college, I really focused on doing my schoolwork while also working part-time at a Vans retail store. I worked my way up to being a floor supervisor, so I had leadership in that way. However, not academically. PRSSA was actually my first time stepping into like an academic setting leadership role, it was something I've never done before or ever really knew about people like like doing this. Like it always felt so like unattainable, but when I had the opportunity, I jumped and I haven't looked back.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad, like I said, that you're able. I mean, to just get involved and like I said, and work for yourself, work to get to where you are now, and you did it as a first generation student.
Yes, so that also is just like an added layer to all this. I didn't even really know that you were supposed to get leadership and how much it would help you get internships. Like, no one, there's not like a college play-by-play handbook. I mean, I could probably write one now, but there's not really like a step-by-step what you should do or what's best for you. And everybody's path is different as well. So I don't even think something like that could be made. I'm glad I found my way through kind of not quitting and seeing all of my options, but there was definitely some adversity there.
Well, I definitely, like I said, love that you're still, like I said, working towards it. And so, considering that, like I said, that you are first generation, like what helped guide you to figure out, like even like the steps to do next? Was it more so like figuring it out on the spot, or were you able to have like high school guidance counselors, for instance, or other figures that were able to help guide you towards that direction?
I really did not have too much to turn to, which definitely sucks. I mean, I hadn't met with a high school guidance counselor. Neither of my parents attended college, and the counselors I were able to were my community college advisors. However, even with that, it's like really you that has to take charge and are expected to know what's going on. So I took everything at right as it came. I figured it out. Honestly, it was to the point my email would go off and I would have so much anxiety. Like, is this another thing to do? Um, but I was able to kind of figure it out through the power of the internet. Thankfully, we have kind of things like this. As well as just relying on some of my fellow peers that are also applying to colleges at the same time as me and working towards similar goals.
Well, I'm so glad that you're able to utilize the power of the internet in that regard.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a great tool when we decide to, I mean, to use it to help benefit us in our own personal progression. And I did want to, let's say, continue on a little bit. So outside of just PRSSA, so how has this time in college been for you, both personally and professionally?
It's grown me so much. I think I definitely engage critically with a lot of the information presented outside of college now. I think it's a lot easier to decipher kind of like news headlines, what isn't important, and kind of the relations of kind of the world around us. There's so much like factors and relationships and networking that goes into PR and really like uncovering that and diving into how to develop yourself professionally has also in turn helped you become a better person personally as well.
I'm so glad. And yeah, and so how overall, like I said, has it been for you in your internship at this time?
I love it. I'm on my second internship now, which I highly recommend any college student to just experience as much as you can experience right now. Like right now is the time to just do just unique experiences that you maybe might not have been your number one, but just to get it under your belt and say you've done it, and you can say now you know definitely you don't like this or you do like this. So it's really important to choose multiple internships as well as diverse internships. My current internship right now, I'm working with Hawaiiverse, which is a local company that really works on being like a directory to a lot of local businesses. And I think supporting like the community is really valuable to me. So I'm excited that I get to work with an organization like that.
That's outstanding. And would you say, like, between your two internships, would you say that you've been able to grow both as a person and as a PR professional?
Definitely. They definitely give you unique attributes. There are also differing environments. My first one was a public relations internship, which was in person. So I was actually in an office like 3 days a week. Where my second internship, they're based on the Big Island of Hawaii. So it's more online and hybrid, where sometimes I'll go volunteer with events on Oahu, but really it's more of digitally meeting and a digital environment. And I think it's important to get the dual experiences so you can decide like, oh yeah, I don't really like online, I can't hone myself to get things done if I'm at home, or oh, I love in person, like it really did it. So it's like it's good to know these things before you actually step into the professional world, where now that you got the job, you got to see it through.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, I always feel like the time of internships is a great time to figure out both what you love and enjoy and also what you, for lack of better words, almost like bitterly hate in the sense of, like, okay, I love this. I love this. This part's okay. It's fine. Maybe not day to day, but this part, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's good to find your boundaries like that early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say that you now have a clear path as to what you'd want to do after graduation?
That is such a tough question because I feel like, can anyone say they have a clear path? I think this semester and next is like my season of applications. Like I'm really applying, applying, applying. And I think that's the best kind of way to view like your job search or what you're going to do after college, just so you do have multiple opportunities and kind of ideas of what's on the market and what's going to best suit you. So just applying like crazy is basically my life for these next few months.
Oh, I bet. I know having spoken with so many people, I said on my podcast, college students to recent graduates, to those who've been their career for quite a while. I mean, I know that the time leading up to graduation and right after graduation always feels and sounds the toughest, just because it's sort of like that uncertainty. It's like we
Yeah.
spend all of our schooling leading up to high school graduation, and then it's like, okay, if college is something that you want to do, you have that. You have your 4 years, give or take. You graduate, done. And it's like after that retirement in decades from now.
Yeah, it's like everything is laid out for you, what you should, quote unquote, be doing. But then once you finish those steps, it's time to kind of deviate from the path, and that can be pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, yeah, outside of just your academics, that you mentioned not only do you enjoy reading, but you love writing.
I do. I love writing. I feel like it'd be very difficult to be in PR if you like despise writing. So writing, really, on my free time, I like to do anything that gets me active or creative. I feel like a career like public relations is a very grueling, mentally in front of a computer screen, a little bit more like that. So I like to kind of counteract that with my free time, being outside and doing something creative, like painting something. Like it doesn't even have to look good to feel good. I just have to like get it out, and then it's kind of like counteracting any of the mundane work life things.
I love that. And yeah, it's so important to be, creative. And even like for myself, a few months after, finishing my master's program, I was like, it's like it's like I've had so many amazing, like I said, experiences, especially over these past 5 years. But you know, but in the same regard, it's like I remember back in elementary school, like we used to do all these fun crafts. It's like, why can't we do this now?
Yeah. Like get yourself a coloring book, just get it out. Like
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think a part of that too is I know for myself, like I've been like in a personal journey after graduating and sort of like rediscovering what I love, and so like for me, I really much love writing. And out of curiosity, do you like more like nonfiction sort of writing, such as like what requires some PR, or do you also like some of the fictional side as well?
I like some of the fictional side, of course. I think it's a good to have like a good balance to even just be like versatile in your writing. I feel like if you're a good like fiction writer, you can also be very good at nonfiction because you'll kind of see those like what would make a story and what of this real situation like ignites engagement and can I write into this? And so it's a good like a mix to have.
Oh, 100%. And I know for myself, like I love both fiction and nonfiction writing, and so it's so fun being able to like explore a story and being able to, I mean, to tell it, and even on mediums such as a podcast of personal storytelling.
Yes.
But yeah, and I know that you also enjoy like hiking, for instance. So how long have you been into hiking?
I think hiking, my interest in hiking really sparked when I first moved to Hawaii in 2022. I mean, I hiked a little bit in Arizona, but the weather is just way too grueling to really do that year round. So being in a place where it's nice weather pretty much year round, but discovering I can go hiking all the time has become like my favorite pastime. I love just exploring new places and just seeing the native plants, the waterfalls, kind of all these places that I didn't even know like beauty like that existed. So I love when I go on a hike or go on this exploration, and just the ending is just so breathtaking. It doesn't even look real. It doesn't even look like something I could have imagined that I could ever see. So
That's amazing, and I'm so glad. And so, out of curiosity, like, how often do you like work into not just hiking but also your creative pursuits?
I definitely try to do like a fun activity once a week. Thankfully, I mostly have weekends to myself, so I get to explore the island or go to the beach, try new food. Definitely try to keep that up weekly so I don't, lose my mind in finals and all that.
Well, that makes, like I said, perfect sense. And I know, like I said, I know, of course, this will release in a few weeks, but I know during this, this final season, I think is the time that we have to be sort of the most creative, but then also sort of the most forgiving for ourselves
Yes.
because it's in this time that we're like almost like doubting certain things. Like, did we learn this? Did we study this?
Yeah.
Do I really, really know this?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I did want to ask a little bit, of course, about your second major being political science. And so, how's that for you?
I love political science. I think it's so interesting and it really like pulls me and captivates me. There's a lot of like reading involved, which luckily I do like reading, and I love reading about like historical events, facts, like perspectives. It's really good. I think it makes me a more well-rounded person and professional. I really done like I dove into political science purely for interest as well. And I'm so happy I chose to kind of pair these two together because communications and political science really can go hand in hand and create a really fruitful career.
And how would you see yourself like utilizing political science within your future career?
Well, like I said, I do want to go into like a more like a nonprofit, like a PR route or even governmental, where I'm really working with communities. And part of that is to critically think and be like culturally understanding, sensible. And I think political science really opens the door to that. A lot of mistakes are made in the classroom, and then it just creates you to be a more well-rounded person at the end.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And while we're speaking, is there anything else that you wanted to speak about or highlight? While we're still here.
I really do just want to highlight to like any students or young professionals listening that diversifying yourself is so, so important. Probably one of the most important traits to gain, whether that be through internship experiences, what you learn, what you just experience in your personal life. I think yearning for learning is really important, especially as PR. Public relations is a career where you do have to constantly learn as the landscape is constantly changing. So finding that hunger for learning early on is really important.
I love that, and I mean, I think that's just such a let's say a perfect sentiment before we let's say begin closing out. And so, Crystal, I want to ask, so what does it mean to you, let's say, to be here as a guest on the podcast and share a little bit of your journey?
So it means a lot to be considered on a podcast like this, knowing that people do want to hear my story as well. It feels good sharing. This is one of the first time I'm doing anything like this. So thank you so much for thinking of me and reaching out. And I really want to push the idea that you only think you can't because you haven't. So a lot of things like I've never done this podcast before. I didn't think this was a possibility, but I had the opportunity and I did, and I know I can now. I think that also ties into just experiencing as much as you can.
I love that, and truly, like you were saying, that yeah, you really sometimes don't know what you can do until you do it. And I certainly hope that you, like I said, have the absolute best end to your senior year ahead of your graduation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course, and if anyone would like to connect with you online and to continue hearing your story, where's the best places for them to do so?
Yeah, we can. I would love to connect on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Crystal Castille. I'm sure we'll have my name somewhere, as well as Instagram. My username is just Crystal as well.
Well, awesome. And last but certainly not least, I want to allow for you to go ahead and close out our episode 102, with whether it be an inspirational thought, life lesson, or whatever the case may be. The floor is all yours.
So I really want to push, do it scared. I know it scares you. I know you're nervous. I know it's impossible to beat anxiety, but do it scared or you're not going to do it at all. So get comfortable with that feeling and it's going to take you far.
I love that. Let's say, Crystal, thank you so much for coming on the show and for speaking with us. And you're definitely, like I said, welcome here. And I'm so excited for your upcoming graduation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm so excited to see how this podcast plays out.
Yes, I'm definitely excited as well. And for those tuning in, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to the Tansson Talks show. I always love doing this. And throughout 2025, we're going to continue on our mission to bring people together. I'll see you next time. Take care.